Welcome to the McKinley Diaries, 21 years on, with myself, Nigel Vardy. We are on day 2, the 1st, I nearly said second, the 1st of May, 1999. Yesterday we arrived in Anchorage, and this morning, well, it didn't look like I slept very well. Jet lagged and coughing, I didn't sleep much. In fact, I was up at 0300, and Steve's snoring doesn't help. Guess who I was sharing a tent with for the rest of the trip? Well, we got up and walked the deserted streets of Anchorage, and I was really amazed about how empty this town, this city, this big coastal port really was. Tony was awake, that's good for a change, and his stomach was rumbling, that's quite normal. So we went for some breakfast, of course. Now, breakfast in this part of the world, if any of you experience this, is not cornflakes and fruit. It's not just a bacon sandwich. Pancakes, steak, eggs, coffee, the lot for breakfast. But then again, my training for most mountaineering, besides the physical aspect, is to put some weight on. Because trust me, you are going to lose it. We then had to do the very important act of shopping. We had to fly over with all our equipment and kit, but we couldn't take food. An army's march is on their stomach, as it says here. So we decided to find a supermarket, load up with all the gear. I'll put a picture up of all the food that we bought, the crates of the damn stuff, before we sorted it out. I've noted here that as we walk round the seafront of Anchorage, the sun just lit the mountains up beautifully, and the place is absolutely surrounded by fantastic snow-covered peaks. What would life be like if you could just go to those and climb every one of them at the weekend? Well, we shopped. In fact, we got so much stuff, we needed a taxi to take it back to the digs. And people did seem genuinely amazed that we were going climbing. The locals really didn't seem to be into it. And that really amazed me, actually, being in such a place like that. But okay, that's up for them. One lesson we learnt very quickly was we bought all this stuff, and actually, just looking in the front of my diary here, I've actually still got a label of some of the jerky that we bought. Jerky is great on a mountain. You've got to have food that's high in protein, high in what you need to eat, and practically indestructible. And you can jump up and down on jerky all week and still eat it. We, of course, started stripping all the stuff we didn't need off the food, all the wrappers and labels and packaging, and then suddenly realised we didn't know how long to boil some of the rice for, and whatever, couscous and things. So we decided to put some of the packaging, cut it up and put bits back in so that we could remember. Good move. We sat back out on the seafront again, looking into the distance at the beautiful mountains and the oil refineries. Oh well, you can't have everything. Wrote a few postcards. I've always been a writer, hence I've got my diary. And went down for something to eat. And of course, the Alaskans seem to be really interested in us Brits. The standard stuff of, oh, well, I visited the Cotswolds from London some years ago, and I have some friends in London. Do you know them? No. Well, that's fine. That's no problem by me. I'm always open to talk to anybody in the world. I suddenly got an unwanted feeling in my mouth as I felt a filling come loose. This is not the place for this to happen. Well, I had to go with it. As I put down here, as of yet it doesn't hurt, but time will tell. Lady Luck's going to have to stay with me on this one. The last thing I need is toothache on a mountain, and particularly with cold air, it really bites. Anyway, we packed all the kit, we packed all the food, and we got some guys from the hotel to organise a van to take us to Talkeetna, which is where we'd be flying on to McKinley. We left the town, the city, and soon changed to densely wooded valleys, snow-capped mountains, twisting roads, excellently tarmacked, making great progress. Julie, our driver, a lovely lady, telling us all about the history of Talkeetna and its people, and it sounded a small but wonderful place. And later on that day, I found that it truly was. I, of course, started sleeping again, jet lag and lots of it. And like most good films, you always wake up when the titles are coming. I woke up just as we got into Talkeetna and instantly noticed what a frontier town it was. The streets were deserted, snow covered the ground, dogs howled in the distance, and the air smelled richly of pine trees. Julie gave us a quick tour of the town in the van and dropped us off at Talkeetna Air Taxi, and they are the folk that are going to fly us in the next day onto the mountain, hopefully. A Talkeetna Air Taxi have their own place to stay, with gear everywhere, kit everywhere, and of course a Cessna. And I don't mean a plane. This is Cessna, the albino cat, that I remember just looked down on us like it had probably done many other climbers over the years and thought, why are you in my house? Because we all know that cats own where they live. Anyway, we took our gear in, sorted out the flight plan, whatever we needed to do, and then went downtown. Now, you know, I'm a bit old-fashioned. I never understood this. I'll put a picture up of this as well. Why Americans have double yellow lines down the centre of the road. Nobody's going to park there. From a Brit, we have them on the sides. But we went downtown just to say hello and pass the day. And it doesn't go dark till 11 p.m, it says here. So at 8 o'clock, it was just strong daylight. The streets were empty, but the bars were like magnets. You can tell what's going to happen. And we went into a pub called the West Rib. That's exactly the route we were going to climb on McKinley, the West Rib. We bought our beer, but we got our food for free. I'm liking this place even more already. And they had a small climbing wall. I distinctly remember this, that the higher you could climb and sign your name, the better off you were. I could only get up to the top of the wall, but I distinctly remember Steve also going across the ceiling and signing way over the back of his head on the top of the ceiling there. He's a much, much better climber than I'd ever be. Well, sense prevailed, and after that we thought, well, we are going onto the mountain tomorrow, hopefully. We'd better get ourselves bedded down for the night, make sure that Cessna hasn't stolen any of our beds, and prepare ourselves for the next day to come.